Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Let Them Hear It. Thank you if you've been listening to the previous episodes, and hello and welcome if this is your first time listening. So today we're going to cover a lot of topics, a lot of things you might have heard before if you have listened. But we're going to start off with a segment on mental health.
Yeah, well, this is something that we dedicated a whole segment to in our second episode. If you haven't listened to that, definitely go back and listen to that. We ended up talking about that for a lot longer than maybe we anticipated, because it turns out we had a lot of ground to cover in that respect. But I think we're gonna try and just make it a regular thing. Um, just not talk about it too much, but just to kind of catch up with each other really on how we're doing. Um, which leads to the question, boys, how are you doing at the moment?
Well, I mean, I have barely any time at the moment. I'm not going to go too negative, but I'm very busy these days. But generally, keep it short and snappy. Other than wishing I had more time, yeah, I'm okay. I'm still able to get in the occasional 10 minutes on guitar, and trying to spend more and more time with my girlfriend because we live together, but we don't see each other much. So yeah, 7 out of 10.
I'll give myself
If there's a scale.
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
I'll
fine.
give myself a 7/8 out of 10.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That's good. Yeah, solid. How are you, Dan?
I am actually weirdly, and I can't put my finger on why. I'm actually feeling like a lot better than I felt in a long time. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just I'm enjoying the break or what, but I've been pretty good recently. Um, I've been a lot more rested than I've been for a while. I'm
Yeah.
getting out for my walks again, like I was during the first lockdown.
Yeah, me too.
I'm feeling pretty good. I guess most people that have suffered with mental health problems to a degree know that sometimes that doesn't always last. So I'm just sort of enjoying it while I can.
And out of 10, what would you rate yourself?
I'd probably give myself a 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty solid. I would like to point out, however you feel, you don't have to rate yourself out of 10. This is
Oh yeah.
It's
just something that we've done. Yeah.
I think now I've been reading in the news that they're closer and closer to a more effective vaccine as well for COVID.
Yeah.
That's given me a bit of hope.
Yeah.
I don't like change that much.
I think I'm the same. I weirdly crave change in things like workplaces and whatnot all the time. I'm always wanting to do something new and different and exciting. But I get what you mean in kind of like a general perspective. But I do want to.
I miss my routines. I miss being a bit more free on what I want to do instead of being stuck at home all
definitely.
day.
But I do want to say that generally, I think November has actually been a pretty good turnaround month. We've had, depends how you look at it, but from my perspective, a pretty good election in the US. We found a vaccine. Dominic Cummings has been goings. So, yeah.
I'm going to use that.
Good. Yeah, that's cheered me up. The vaccine is fantastic news. I was on the phone to my grandma last night, and she was happy about it, because obviously she's on her own at the moment. So her, on a mental health perspective, to bring it back, it must be hard.
Yeah.
She has got my sister in her bubble, so she does drop off the shopping safely, and they see each other when they can, and we'll have regular calls. So, just checking on your loved ones.
Just imagine your sister in like an actual bubble.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much
floating around the shops.
Yeah, it's the easiest way to get around.
I can't get the milk. I'm stuck in a bubble.
One of those inflatable ones. It's brilliant. You can't really get anything, but it's the best way to trash Tesco.
Best way to get banned from Tesco by the sound of
it. It is, yeah. So I think that about would cover it for the for the top up of the mental health, the catch up
Yeah.
of how we are. And always feel free to send in how you are. And if you want us to talk about anything, please do. And on the topic of sending things in, we now move on to our next segment, which is questions, stories, and advice. And you'll know last week we focused specifically on advice. What advice was good. The takeaway was the episode title, which was Control the Controllables. And we're going to read to you some of the responses that were sent in.
So the first one comes from my mum. Thanks, Mum. And it's stop worrying what others think of you. That's their problem, not yours. I feel like to a degree, this is something that everyone struggles with. I actually, funnily enough, the other day I shared something that was I don't know if you saw it. It was a meme, and it said name something that you have an alarming number of, and I said insecurities. And then in brackets I put I think I might be doing this wrong. But yeah, totally. It's something that I'm always very conscious of. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean that's solid advice, and we are always worrying about it. But I think, the only person who's thinking about what you did on the 12th of October 2008 at 2:36 p.m. is you. You know, the only person who's thinking of that embarrassing moment that makes you cringe and keeps you up at night. That's you. No one else. No one else is thinking about that. No one else is judging you about that.
Yeah, it is weird. There's so many because there's so many things that I've said that I want to apologize to people for, and they probably forgot about it the minute the words left my lips. But I've been dwelling on it ever since.
Absolutely, it's crazy how your mind tells you that everyone else is kind of, focusing on that, and it's not. I wouldn't say it's self-centered, but it's just the way that your mind focuses on you.
Yeah.
No one cares about you as much as you do. No one cares about themselves.
Someone said to me, "You're not that important," and I don't mean it. I didn't say it in a horrible way, but
yeah, no, I get
I'm
it.
probably not that important. All the situation wasn't important enough, or isn't important enough for me to worry about, and I think.
Yeah, it's not insignificance. It's not saying you don't matter.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
The situation is insignificant. You just. I wish I could do that though. Just push things away and leave it alone, but I can't. It'll wander around my head for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
So the next pieces of advice come from the same person, Amy, who says, "Do not waste your time explaining yourself to an idiot." Which
I think that's the greatest piece of advice you could ever
we've
receive.
all learned that the hard way.
I'm not going to go any further into that, guys.
wait, hang on. You did a thing.
And she says also, when woodworking, my daddy always said, measure twice, cut once, which I think is, the generic sort of check and check again,
Yeah,
that's solid advice in itself.
I was going to say that applies to more than just woodwork.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
yeah. Brain surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that something you know a lot about?
No, but I mean, if I was going to read a book, I'd probably read it, read the important bits anyway. Or at least the back, a couple of times before going into it.
You'd probably want to read it more than once.
Yeah, the pictures are kind of what I'd focus on, really.
Yeah. So the next one comes from Pat, and it says, if it's for you, it won't go by you. That's interesting.
That's actually that's Hermes' motto.
Is it really?
Yeah. If a post is for you, it's never going to reach you.
I could tell a story about Hermes. It's not really that interesting, but basically, we once lost a parcel that Hermes delivered because they put it in our paper recycling. And I feel like everyone that I talk to about Hermes always says that they have a similar story?
Well, my friend once worked there, and yeah, his personal opinion and story of that, was that everything's just chucked behind you and to load it up, and it's they probably follow that mantra throughout the whole
Now,
process and throw everything.
we're very new at this podcast thing, and we haven't had any sponsorship offers yet. But I know which company. I know which company won't be approaching us.
I mean, I've ordered stuff from them before, and I've literally been looking out the window at them, and they've literally just put a slip through the door saying no one was in. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
I love the idea of you sitting at the window.
like a little dog waiting for its owner to
puppy.
come at them.
I have a similar story. I ordered something online, and the company had the app where you can track it. And it's like there's so many stops away. I was like, okay, brilliant. It's right. It's gonna be here. And then I got a message saying we were unable to deliver your parcel, and I was sat upstairs the whole time, like, why? So I called up and I was like, look, I'm sat here. No one tried the door. My housemates were downstairs. No one tried it. I called up, and then eventually they got him to re-deliver and call me when outside. And his excuse was he couldn't see our house number. Now, we had one. He was looking on the wrong side of the road. He said
Right.
he could see number 20 and number 22. But he couldn't see number 21 in between that.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't think to look behind him.
No.
Opposite. And that is a true story.
So we're going to send an apology now to anyone that works at Hermes. But if you do work at Hermes and you want to talk about it, we're here for you. Okay, so my sister has been very helpful in these question, story, advice segments, and she's put another response. Thank you, Nadine. That's very kind. And she has put as much time into caring for yourself as you do everyone else, if not more. Learn to say no sometimes. Yes. If the yes is going to burn you out. No. Never judge a book by its cover, but the most important book is you. If you don't judge others on looks, size, or minor imperfections, then why judge yourself that way? If something doesn't give you happiness, joy, or assistance, then throw it away. There's a lot to unpack there, but all of that is pretty solid, I say.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel any need to comment, really. I mean, it's all been said. Solid advice.
I mean, especially the learning to say no part. I'm a big old yes man, and I don't pride. Well, I kind of do pride myself on it because I am someone that likes to be helpful, but it can be not always a good thing.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, so the last piece of advice for this section is by Ella Wilson: is don't believe everything you think.
Ooh.
I like that one.
Because obviously
we all
we all know that don't believe everything you read, but don't believe everything you think.
I mean, as a massive overthinker myself, I really support that piece of advice.
I wish I didn't think at all, but
So, a couple of episodes back, we went through some work stories and a few pieces of advice surrounding work. We want to know what's your funniest, weirdest, strangest, whatever. What's your most interesting work story that you have? So please send that in to us, and the best ones will get read out.
So this week's topic is on the paranormal. Now, whether you believe it or not, I think it's a fascinating subject to get into, especially around where I live. There's a lot of speculation and stuff like that. So I've never really experienced anything paranormal, nothing too frightening. Now, as I don't have many paranormal stories, I think I'll leave it to you two, and then I can sort of pitch in if I think of anything.
Okay,
I know you have quite a few, Dan, whether you believe it or not.
Here is the interesting thing, because my feelings on the paranormal have changed in the last decade or so, but not really that much. If you'd have asked me when I was younger if I believed in it, I would have said definitely yes. And I feel like I've now kind of dragged myself into that kind of agnostic zone a bit. I think partly because the as of right now, the scientific community does not support the idea of any kind of existence of anything paranormal, which in a way like should be a clincher for me. um but having said that, I know that I and many others that I've spoken to have seen and heard some really weird shit that they can't explain. So while I can't really call myself a believer, if someone were to tell me, yes, I've absolutely seen a ghost, I've had an experience, I would not disbelieve them. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, yeah. I I'm a believer, but I'm skeptical to the stories initially. I'll if it's possible that there is another explanation, it's likely the mind kind of sees what it wants to see. Um, but I I've not really had interactions, but I recall one time, and I know she'd vouch for it, and she has done since. But I was at my godparents and my godmother. I took a photo of their dog at the time, and it's important for context that I tell you that they lived on the street where there was a cemetery. And so I took a photo. This was years back on my Motorola Razr. Brilliant phone, welcoming that sponsorship. Um, I took a photo, and in the background was the dog. In the foreground, and I don't know how or why a skull would appear, but a skull appeared in the foreground, and it was pretty clear what it was. Um, and it wasn't like a weird ghost picture; it was just a skull. Um,
Right.
that's that's the experience I had. And it's we've spoken about it since because my worry is it my memory being warped? Is it just me being a child and seeing things? But we have spoken about it a few years after it happened, and we both remembered it exactly how it was. So that's my experience. I do just want to tell our readers to go on a fast our readers. I'm sure you can read as well, but our listeners to go to search for a fantastic article. If you search Nuneaton ghost in shop, I'm sure it will come up because it's quite a big article. Um, but there's an article about this shop that got hit by a bomb in the war, and they had loads of very frightening experiences upstairs in that shop. I won't go into it for time perspective, but yeah, check that out.
Yeah, well, I will say as well, I grew up in a very weird house.
I was going to
Um,
say that. I was going to say that. Not
I
that I
thought it was all
believe.
right.
Yeah, it stares at you. When I've been at your house, I've heard some strange noises, but I've kind of just, especially like running up the stairs and
well,
cupboards
that's it.
opening and
We had
doors
a lot.
slamming.
We had a lot of that when we lived
And
there.
your spare bedroom was apparently the epicenter of it.
Yes, yeah.
And
Hang on, I slept in there. No one told
yeah,
me
so
that.
did I. And I've never.
Well, so did I because that was my bedroom at one point.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
But yeah, because the thing is, there are things that, like you say, your brain will play tricks on you, and you will misremember things or misinterpret things. You'll think you've seen something, and the more like if you are a believer, it's more likely you're going to convince yourself that what you've had is a paranormal experience.
Mm.
When it gets weirder is when it's a shared experience. And I've had it where like it's been me and my parents were in that living room in that house, and we've all heard a noise from upstairs at the same time and all looked at the same time. And none of us have ever been able to explain that. And I think that's where we kind of draw the line. Is like, here are things that we can explain. Here are the things that we can't explain. However, the things that we
could
can't
be explained
explain,
by something else, though.
yeah, doesn't mean there isn't an explanation for it. It just
No.
means we haven't found it.
Yeah, because my excuse would be, "Oh, that's the neighbours," but the way your house is set up is your neighbours are on the other side, weren't they?
Yeah,
We're the semi-detached house.
yeah.
Like the actual
But it was
detached part was where your stairs were, weren't they? You had your front
yeah,
door, then you had your
yes,
stairs. Yeah.
If I remember it correctly, because I don't think I visited the house next door very often, but the houses were basically like symmetrical.
Mirrored.
So everything in the other house was the same, but it was like flipped round, I think. I don't have much of a memory of what the inside of the house looked like, but I think that was how it was.
Tends to be the way. These are doors on separate sides with the same layout, just inverted.
Yeah.
And I remember we were in your kitchen once, and I think a cupboard opened. I can't remember if it was in your kitchen or in your living room. It's like someone opened it, then quickly shut it again. Like if a child was playing with it.
Yeah, well, a lot of stuff like that happened. And I think here's the thing as well, is that we're sitting here sharing these stories, and people love talking about weird experiences.
I think it fascinates me.
Yeah, me too.
I don't necessarily believe in it, but I could spend a good few hours watching ghost videos or reading up on it.
And they're fun stories to tell.
Yeah. Well, you get noises in your new house. I thought anyway. Just done.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, I have had people say, but again, maybe that is.
I thought that, but it was just Stan when I woke up in the morning. So.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I missed that part.
You can't miss that.
Oh, you know.
Who needs an alarm clock?
Yes.
I mean, I think once I watch a ghost video or read something, my mind does tend to play tricks on me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you ever watched it. It was I don't know if you ever watched it. It's a Discovery Channel, Discovery Kids. You ever heard of it?
Probably, no. But I don't think I watched it.
It had a program called Mystery Hunters.
Okay.
Did they have a dog and a groovy van?
Were they always stoned?
Probably. But it was basically a scientist and these two reporters, and they would just investigate strange happenings around the world, and they never ever come across anything.
Right. Okay.
Which is quite
okay.
I don't know. I guess sometimes the most sane person can still be tricked into thinking something's happening. I think.
Yeah.
I don't think we give the mind that much credit.
Wait, so they never came across anything?
No, they I think it was like a couple of series, and all the investigations they did, despite other people's.
So it was like a debunking show, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think of it like Paranormal Investigators, but a kids version.
Wondering how they run kind of a show off that, to be honest. Just get there, there's a ghost. Oh no, it's just.
They go back to they go back to the commissioning editor and say, "Well, we didn't find anything." They go, "Oh well, we've got to make a show anyway." But no, because I was gonna when you started talking about that, Tom, I had immediately had visions in my head of what it, because those shows tend to be quite awful, usually.
I don't think the production values are that great.
And this is because I grew up watching Most Haunted.
That's so fake.
Yeah.
Which is
fake.
Well, here's the funny thing. I visited. We had a family holiday in Ilfracombe in Devon, and we went on a guided tour of a manor house, that Most Haunted had visited in an episode, and the guy that was our tour guide was there when the episode was shot, and he basically like pulled the curtain back on everything and said like there was a section where there's a cot in one of the rooms that rocks on its own. They made it rock. And
Oh, wow.
like Yvette Fielding, was the presenter on it, was known for getting hysterical and screaming when things get too scary. I don't know if you've ever watched it, either of you.
No.
I watched it, yeah. Never really, I think, a full episode. I was just kind of channel surfing when it came on. But yeah,
Right.
there was always something ridiculous that kind of said like, this is fake.
Yeah, well, Yvette Fielding was like the presenter, and she used to get hysterical and run off screaming when it got a bit too much. And the guy said, yeah, she does do that, but only when the cameras are rolling. And I think
That'd be odd
okay.
if she didn't do it when the cameras were on. Yeah.
and that really shows up those kind of shows.
But it's all to make an audience, isn't it? It's the same as
Yeah.
most reality TV. It's all like partially scripted. They have to put
Yeah.
it though.
I was going to say, what else Mystery Hunters sort of went into was
I'm sorry, all I can think of is Scooby Doo. I don't know what. Mr. Inc.
Yeah.
was UFOs and aliens and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
Again, that could be real.
Well, I struggle to believe that there's intelligent life out there because there's none here.
Yeah.
But on a serious note, I personally believe that there is something out there, probably not aliens as we know it, but it's kind of seems to make sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd have a reason or a want to visit personally.
No.
But, yeah, for sure. I think there's life everywhere.
Not at the moment.
No.
Everyone's at home.
The aliens are probably looking down on here thinking, now we'll leave it another couple
No
of decades.
thanks.
Yeah.
Or they
You can
come back
visit
every.
us, but you have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe they come back every couple of decades and go, oh, they're still at it.
Yeah. Well, it's probably like if they come back, probably because of the time, they're like, oh, what are those little dinosaur things? And then they've just sort of come back and this, who's that orange flomp running the USA? And then they're going to come back in a while and be like, oh, do you know what? They did it. They finally did it. They've invented something good. And this will be like millions of years from now, and it'll be something that they actually appreciate. But to
Yeah.
them, it'll be like 10 minutes. Like
Because when it's all very generic when you read someone's encounter with a UFO. It's like, oh, I saw a big bright light and then I woke up in my bed or something. No, they don't remember it. It's like,
Probably just a bus went past.
yeah.
Or someone turned on the light to try and wake them up
Yeah.
and turned it off again. No, I think there's definitely people that, again, like they probably see it because they want to see it. But I do think it exists, but I don't think it's really visiting us, or if it has, it was a while ago.
Yeah. Maybe we're just boring.
Probably.
That's why no one listens.
We are pretty. When you look at the human race, we are a pretty dull race.
Yeah, I mean, what do? We get educated on loads and loads of things, and then we work for 50 years, and then just that's it.
Yeah. Then we die.
Yeah. I mean, what is our purpose? Pass butter.
Oh no. I didn't think this would get existential.
No.
No, but for real, I mean, we literally have no purpose. But there we go. We don't contribute to the ecosystem. Wasps pollinate; they do more than we do, and they're little bastards.
Yeah. Stripy orange bastards.
Exactly.
You have to say that
Gits.
like Sean Bean. Bastards.
At least they contribute.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. At least they're doing something. Yellow jacket pricks.
We just
We just piss at the
Destroy-
bus stop.
Yeah, we're just destroying the
Or
earth.
maybe that's why they're annoyed at us. Maybe that's why they sting us so much because like at least we're doing something. Like, come on,
Yeah, they're
you
trying
know,
to give us a
get up.
trying to give
Like,
us a boost. Yeah.
It kind
They
of
just
puts
want
a
us to
really different angle on
yeah.
Wasps, doesn't it? It's like that colleague that does loads of stuff at work and then thinks everyone else does fuck all.
Or maybe they just feel sorry for us and want us to feel something.
Send in your thoughts. Are we the baddies? Are Wasps the good guys? No. But so, yeah, I mean, rounds it off for me.
Yeah.
The paranormal section ending on Wasps. Are they good or bad?
I think, yeah, if I see it, I'll believe it.
Oh yeah,
I've
no,
had
you'll
nothing
see a wasp.
I definitely
concrete.
believe in wasps.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Little fuckers when they try and get in your drink.
Yeah.
Caspi, why'd it have to go on me?
That's a reference.
Yeah. Okay, so I hope you found that discussion about wasps and paranormal interesting. Let's go on to a positive story. Do you two have any positive stories that you've encountered this week?
Well, I was going to talk about spooky wasps, but we've covered that. So,
Ghost wasp.
so I think that was mine. I think Dan's got one now.
No, I do. This is just kind of a little thing, but now that we're back in lockdown again, during the first lockdown, I managed to stay productive, and I started to neglect that a little bit once I got back into work, which happens. You know, you find you don't have a lot of free time, and the free time that you do have, you kind of just want to spend watching Netflix and going to bed. So I sadly was neglecting playing music, and the last few days I've had a real like creative burst in music. I've just been playing a lot of music, and it's maybe that's contributing to how good I've been feeling over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think
That's good.
just extending on that, I've been refreshing my music theory,
Okay.
which is pretty fun, and I've been teaching myself maths from the very beginning as well,
Wow.
Okay.
because I never really did well at school. I mean,
No.
it's not that I didn't like it; I just couldn't do it. But in my opinion, this is a completely different topic for a different episode. But I do think the school system and how things are taught are flawed in so many ways.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Every
well,
child's different, and you can't teach them all the same.
I mean, every little helps.
Bouncing off that as well. Yeah, I've been practicing guitar and different techniques, and I'm getting closer and closer to cracking Beeswing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'll repeat my sentiments from earlier. Bastard.
it's a very flawed version, I will add.
Can someone contact Sean Bean? I want to get him on the show. How great would that be?
That'd be
That
great.
yeah, that would be good.
I just want to give him a list of words and hear him pronounce them.
Because every time I see his name, I
Bean
think,
Bean.
yeah,
Or Sean Bourne.
no.
So we're approaching the end of the episode, and as we always do, we're going to give you a couple of recommendations. And the first recommendation is a music one, and it comes from Matt. Matt, what is your music recommendation this week?
Well, now this is a two-part recommendation, one for work, one for play. So we'll start with the work one now. I've recently discovered that focus music or songs designed for focus actually do work while you're working. And I'll tell you why. So basically, my first recommendation is if you're trying to focus on something, Mario Kart music is brilliant. It's designed for focus anyway while you're playing the game, and that's why it's so good. It's like it's intense, but it's like it brings that intensity into your head and out, and you focus. And I was doing a job today where the task is to solve 5 emails an hour, and over 2 hours I did 35
Wow.
correctly. So I mean, I did. That is the job that I used to do, but even for myself, it's really productive. The next album, it's an album. You've got me. The next one is an album that sort of really introduced me to a band that I now know and love very much, and it's simply the American Idiot album by Green Day.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that will sort of argue it and say Dookie was their best and all this stuff. I'm not here to have an argument about what's their best work, because when I heard that album, I traced them back and listened to everything, and I love it all. But this album has a soft spot in my heart because it's what introduced me to the band and really influenced me a lot within when I kind of write rockier stuff. That's more of an influence, and it was my introduction to that kind of world of music. Prior to that, I was sort of very set in my ways of, for those that know it, Cropredy, I was going since I was 2 months old, so that was the sort of music that I knew, and anything else outside of it was like, I was kind of shying away from it, but this opened up a whole world, and now my playlist is so varied, it's unreal, and I think it's definitely because of that album just opening so many doors of so many
Green
styles.
Day is a great band, though. And that American Idiot album is it's probably one of my favourite albums.
I agree.
It's so energetic, though. Even the sad songs are.
Yeah. And there's a narrative to it as well. You don't get many albums with a narrative now.
Yeah.
And I think probably all of us are the same. Thinking about when they came out in 2004, I believe.
Yes.
2004.
Yeah.
So for us, I can only speak for myself. I'm only assuming you two are the same, and probably a lot of people listening have the same thing. That album was the soundtrack to my like preteen years.
Oh,
I
yeah,
just remember.
absolutely.
I remember having. This was before.
Especially the song "American Idiot." That was massive.
Yeah.
I Jesus of Suburbia was always my favorite.
Oh, I like that one.
But I remember having. It was before I had an iPod or any kind of MP3 player. I had the portable CD player.
Yeah.
With a big pair of headphones, and I used to just sit with that, listen to American Idiot, and that album still takes me right back to being like 10, 11 years old.
Yeah. It's a brilliant album. Definitely an underrated track for me is What's Her Name, the closing track. It's so brilliant and powerful, and it just kicks in towards the end. It's amazing. And Homecoming as well, as a long, almost operatic song, if you like, rock opera.
I like Holiday.
Brilliant.
That's my favourite one.
Holiday, top song.
Yeah.
As well.
And I like it leads into Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
I don't think there's a bad song on that album.
No, there isn't.
No, I mean, I'm biased because I'm a huge Green Day fan, as I said. But yeah, no, I think it's brilliant.
Do you still have your portable CD player, Dan?
I don't think. Maybe somewhere it might be in the bag of shame with all the other useless electronics that don't work anymore, but I don't get rid of for some
Bag
throw
of
away.
shame.
Yeah.
I'll probably put myself in a bag of shame.
Totally
Well,
sex tape.
No, that's bad. Do you have any legacy products, Matt, that you used when you were younger?
I'm trying to think. I've got things from my youth. In fact, my electric guitar is older than I am. But not really. No, I remember
my portable CD player still works.
Well,
It's great.
I had one, a hand-me-down, being the youngest of three, and I only ever took it on car journeys because I had speakers at home. And the problem with it, because I was determined to listen to my own music, the problem with it was you had to hold down the play button because it was broken.
Oh, right.
And
I
these
can
car
imagine your hand
journeys were about 3
cramping
hours.
towards the end of the car journey.
Well, at the end of the car journey, that didn't really bother me, but at the end of the car journey, I just had a play logo on my thumb. So
You were ahead of your time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I'm owed some copyright money from YouTube or Google or whoever now.
So American Idiot is your music rec.
It is indeed. So that would
I can't argue with that one. It's a good
No,
one.
I think it's a great album.
fantastic. Well, That's my music recommendation, and as is tradition, we now have Dan's film or TV recommendation. Take it away, Dan.
Okay, now I'm excited to talk about this because this is sort of the nature of film. The last time I did a film rec was way back on our first episode, where I talked about Charlie Kaufman's I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Still love it, still a great film, but I mentioned in that episode that it was my film of the year. However, it has since been surpassed by the great Aaron Sorkin's second outing as a director, and it's The Trial of the Chicago 7. Now, if you haven't seen this or know nothing about it, basically it's based on the true story. 1968, a group of activists orchestrated a demonstration against the Vietnam War. And they did it in Chicago during a Democratic conference. And basically it led to riots and a violent altercation with the police. And basically the activists were then put on this lengthy trial to determine whether their intentions were violent or whether their intention was to have a peaceful demonstration and it was in fact the police that incited the violence. Now, Aaron Sorkin, though it's only his second film as a director, I think he's a talented director, but he is the cream of the crop when it comes to screenwriting. His sort of most notable works include The Social Network, and he wrote A Few Good Men, which in itself was already one of the best courtroom dramas ever put to screen. And Trial of the Chicago 7 follows in that vein. And it's very interesting because it couldn't have been timed better for this film to come out this year when we've seen similar discussions going on about civil rights demonstrations with the Black Lives Matter movement this year. And it kind of really puts a spotlight on how little things have changed in America, even over 50 plus years. And obviously, as we mentioned, just recently, we've seen the beginning of the end of one of the, in my opinion, most disgraceful administrations that America has ever had. I'm optimistic for the future, but I guess we'll see. But so it really is, while it's a story that is 52 years old, it is a film for our time. And apart from that, it also just has the most amazing cast that I won't be able to remember everyone, but it includes Sacha Baron Cohen, Eddie Redmayne, Michael Keaton, Mark Rylance, Jeremy Strong, Frank Langella, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, just the most amazing ensemble of people. And I highly recommend it.
I'll have to look out for that.
Yeah.
I have
Is it
heard
on
good things about it.
Netflix or Amazon or anything like that?
It's on Netflix.
Okay, I'll check that out. Nice one.
Another great recommendation.
Right, so that's the end of this episode. Thank you to everyone who listened, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Tom Lewis.
I'm Dan Walton.
And I'm Matt Allen.